Good afternoon and good evening. Fine folks of Magic ASMR YouTube. Welcome back. We're going to do another ASMR video for you guys. Managed to get some more great pricing on some Phyrexia All-Will-Be-One set boosters, and I figured I'd share a nice relaxing video with you as we head into the weekend. This will be going up on a Thursday night right before St. Patrick's Day. The time change has happened, so we can even film with beautiful natural sunlight after leaving the office, leave some of our troubles behind, and open a box of awesome magic cards from a great set. So, thank you for joining me. Enjoy the wonderful sights and sounds and soft, subtle sunlight as it dapples these awesome cards from this new set. I think what I'd like to focus on in today's video is just going over some of the great art. Another thing, let's see. Yes, this is a Japanese set booster box, so it should have some higher quality packaging and printing, just slightly. Not something I would have originally noticed, but a really cool telltale sign as you get to open more booster packs. Great little insert there, Vraska and Jace for Phyrexia and Arena. Really cool. Awesome art on that card. So much emotion and storytelling. Jace sort of contemplating, almost sad to give up on himself and fall to Phyrexia, and Vraska just loving it because she's got her partner and she's fully embraced the black mana. There's Alesh Norn, Panharmonia Mom herself. Something you can tell on these Japanese boosters, that's French for made in Japan there, these are English boosters, is that it has this slightly puffier side on the pack. It's not quite sealed tight, so take a look at that, take a listen. Really cool. And these are 12 card set boosters, the same as what is in the complete edition bundles for this set. You know, some people are able to open down the seam. That's something I'm going to try going forward, as it seems like a better way to protect the cards. If we can get the pack to open that way. Kind of just making a mess there, really. As always with a set booster card, lovely art card. I believe that's Seachrome Coast. Indeed it is. And this actually has a different collation. These set boosters are actually reverse collated, so our rares and our more exciting cards will all be at the top facing away from the art card and the token in the back. Pretty interesting. Our first card there is a rare from the list, from the Secret Lair, those Secret Lair Legends drops. Secret Lair drop 428 rare. He's an SLX Baldin, Century Herdmaster. Pretty fun little white commander card. And right off the bat, a rare foil Koth. So a great way to start a list rare and a foil rare. Koth, Fire of Resistance, is a 2 red and 2 colorless, 4 loyalty, legendary Planeswalker Koth. For +2, you can search your library for a basic mountain card, reveal it, and put it in your hand, and shuffle. His -3 deals damage to target creature equal to the number of mountains you control, and his -7 gives you an emblem that whenever a mountain enters the battlefield under your control, the emblem deals 4 damage to any target. The relevance of the emblem dealing damage is that's a much harder source to prevent because the emblems generally can't be targeted or are in the play zone. Our next rare is Bran, I've said before on this channel, you're not opening a box of Phyrexia All Will Be One unless you open Vran, Executioner, Thane. I believe I've opened at least one of him in every single box of this product I've opened, if not maybe more than one. And you'll see that as we go into the variation on cards and how duplicates can exist. In each pack, you'll also find at least one Phyrexian art card. Necrogen Rot Priest is one we're quite familiar with. And for example, Koth is also in the showcase. Black and white sort of Phyrexian art treatment there. All the Planeswalkers at rare in this set are non-completed, but something fun they did with the art is that they actually featured them in a completed form of themselves. Kind of a fun tease, because until the set was fully revealed, we didn't know which Planeswalkers of the 10 had become Phyrexianized. Just some beautiful other cards there, our uncommons. And the nice thing to see about set boosters is they're often somewhat collated. So here you can see Hexgold Hoverwings and Hexgold Halberd both have the 4 Mirrodin ability, which means they'll not only be equipments, but they'll enter the battlefield with a creature that they are attached to. And then we get a gold and red equipment with 4 Mirrodin as well. So there's often some synergistic collation. And let me move these down so you can kind of keep track at home. There we go. Nice and orderly. Just taking our time. Cruel Grimnark. Some really great art and nomenclature in this set. Testament Bearer, beautiful. That's really classic look of Magic art, especially that eerie green in the back of a black creature. Takes me back to the sort of 10th edition, 8th edition days of Magic art. Yes, I was playing Magic at that time. I fondly remember, I believe it was the 9th edition, maybe the 8th edition release, that I actually drove my younger brother to a Round Table Pizza to play in his first organized Magic event, and just kind of sat close by to give him some help on how to play. Yeah, but these lovely puffy packs, beautiful art on this set, really, really nice. Just about everything. I mean, you know, as much contention as there's been in the Magic world the last few years, especially last year with pricing and the product and Hasbro stock and reprints and things, one thing is that the sets have been fantastic. Great cards, really strong art direction and coordination on the sets. For example, the new signatures on these art cards, they've done a great job of finding these more evocative and stylized signatures. I think they've been able to show artists what it's like to have the gold foil variant of their art card printed, and many of the artists are taking advantage of that. Token card. And in this pack, because there was no list card but a token, the first card we'll find is our foil, an uncommon, another 4 Mirrodin equipment. Kemba, Conjuring is our rare. White and 1 for a 2/2 legendary cat cleric. She's got a really nice ability where when she or another cat enters the battlefield, you can attach an equipment for free. She's starting to see play in some of the formats where deck types known as Hammer Time, which play the Colossus Hammer, and normally equip for 8, but give a creature +10/+10, and her ability to auto-equip makes her very powerful. She also provides an extra +1/+1 to equip creature, and later as the game progresses for 5 mana, she can generate a cat which will trigger this ability and activate this. So a nice little equipment package on Kemba. Capricious Hellraiser. Oh, so an alternate art, that's the showcase art mythic. Something else you'll notice about showcase cards is that normal cards in the set come with their normal sequence number. For example, Kemba, being a white card, is 19 of 271. It goes in color order, white, blue, black, red, green. I believe multicolored, then artifact, then land. I could be incorrect, but also alphabetical. So she's 19 of 271. Capricious Hellraiser is 310 because he takes on a second numbering sequence in the showcase art there. It's a mythic rare, our first mythic here, so we're going to organize our cards a little better here. Let's move all of our rares in here. For 3 red and 3, he's a 4/4, and he costs 3 less if you have 9 or more cards in your graveyard. Not too hard to do, but a little trickier in red. He's a 4/4 flying Phyrexian dragon, and when he enters the battlefield, exile 3 cards at random from your graveyard. You may choose a non-creature, not a you may, I apologize. You choose a non-creature, non-land card from among them and copy it. You may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. Nice ability. Urbrask's Anointer in this showcase art as well, as you'll see by that 293 there. Very cool kind of rust blood stain look to that art. Very cool. Noxious Assault. Not a bad card, a budget Triumph of the Hordes a little bit. Whenever a creature blocks, it gets a poison counter. It's not bad. Paladin of Predation, Toxic 6, can't be blocked by 2. So again, we're seeing another little group of uncommons with a shared theme. All of these are green and relate to the Toxic ability. That's something really fun about opening set boosters, is seeing those little subtle coalition groupings. Someone did a very good job curating those, and I've noticed those ever since. I believe the first time I was really clued into that was the first set boosters I ever got a chance to open, I believe, were Strixhaven, and these beautiful Grimoire Phyrexian lands, really cool flat monochromatic treatments, the Phyrexian font, great stuff. For those who haven't seen these before, this is a basic forest in the second full art style, whereas this is a plains in the first. And as you can see, there's those sequence numbers there. There's only 1 art of each of these for each type, and there's 2 arts, I believe, for each of these. There might only be 1 though, I'm not positive. We'll start to pick up the pace a little, as we're only 3 booster packs in at 12 minutes, but always nice. Again, another beautiful art card there. Love the art cards because they amplify some of the amazing art in the set, and you get to see it larger. This drone token is my favorite token from the set. These beautiful ripples here at the bottom of these hexagonal minerals coming from the ground. I just love that contrast of this organic reflective shape and these flat geometric shapes. The colors, the polychromatic light, beautiful. Ambulatory Edifice is our foil. We'll probably see another one of him before we're done today. And Blackcleave Cliffs is our rare, one of the fast lands as it enters the battlefield tapped, unless you control 2 or fewer other lands, so you'd like to play those fast and early. Ooh, and another mythic in a showcase art is Drivnod Carnage Dominus. There's a cycle of Dominus in every single color in this set. There's sort of a Phyrexian equivalent to Gods from other sets. For 2 black and 3, he's an 8/3 legendary Phyrexian horror, so great power and toughness for the price. If a creature dying causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. For 2 black Phyrexian mana, which can be paid by 2 life apiece or the appropriate mana color, you can exile 3 creature cards from your graveyard and put an indestructible counter on him. Very nice. Another Phyrexian art card. And we'll go to our commons and uncommons. All 3 are red there. And another Grimoire land there. Beautiful plains. Lovely. Little touch of almost L.S. Norn's head shape there. And this subtle skulls hidden in the sinewy texture there. Very cool little touches. These are great lands. Mark Riddick did a fantastic job with these. Another beautiful art card. Take that in there. That sort of goat octopodian eye of Tekthawal looking in as this chrome duplicate is produced of this Mirren. Phyrexian Mite token. Squirrel's Hive is one of the ways to produce those. A foil Bilious Skull Dweller. He's a 1/1 Death Touch Toxic 1. Not bad for limited, not bad at all. Slowbad Iron Golem is our rare, and Slowbad costs red and 2 for a 3/3. He's a Phyrexian Goblin Artificer, and you can tap him, sacrifice an artifact, and add an amount of red mana equal to the artifact's mana value. Spend it only to cast artifacts or activate abilities of artifacts. Phyrexian Mirror Convert there. Great work of the colorless, lots of grays and thinned out inks. Rebel Salvo. With Affinity, kind of a throwback to the remnants of Mirrodin still lurking on new Phyrexia, with Affinity showing up. And a foil version of the other version of full art lands in this set. You know, it wasn't long ago that full art lands didn't appear in every Magic set, but we've gotten to the point where there's so much art and variance in each set and something unique to set each set apart and appeal to different aesthetics, that now we're at a point where with Phyrexia, there's actually 2 complete cycles of full arts for this set. There's the art card for Vran. I just noticed the other night looking at him, these sort of like little magnetic death staples that he's wielding. A very interesting little piece. His flavor text alludes to something very interesting too. He basically refers to all the praetors of Phyrexia contracting him to kill the others until eventually he will be the last one left. A Rebel token there, a little Mirren Rebel, 2/2. Perfect for the 4 Mirrodin ability cards. Kethek, Crucible Golem, another alternate art foil. A little disappointing that we're getting kind of some lame cards in our alternate art foils. We'd love to see, you know, L.S. Norn in our showcase as a foil here. But nonetheless, very cool. Black Sun's Twilight. There's a whole cycle of Twilights here that are their respective color and X, and if X is over 5, they have additional value. I've spoken before how this one's pretty fun because it is effectively a removal spell that gets around indestructible as well, and if X is 5 or more, you can return a creature. So at instant speed, being able to have some very effective --/ removal and put a creature on the battlefield is pretty good. Blightbelly Rat. And we have 2 Phyrexian arts with the Sawblade Scamp. You can see he's got a little Sawblade for a body there. This is one of my favorite things in Magic. It's just that firm snap of putting the card down. Never gets old. And a Forest. This is from the list, as that symbol is Dominaria, and that little Planeswalker symbol lets us know it's from the list. This is a Dominaria reprint, cast down. Nice little piece of removal, destroy target non-legendary creature. Not a bad instant at all. Fleshless Gladiator as our foil. And Red Sun's Twilight, the red version of the Black Sun's Twilight we just took a look at, 2 red and X. Destroys X artifacts, and if X is 5 or more, for each artifact destroyed, you make hasted tokens that you exile as copies of those. Pretty wild board sweep. Cankerbloom, a fantastic uncommon. Green and 1 for a 3/2 with 3 abilities that activate on a colorless. Fantastic card for limited. Charforger, Magmatic Sprinter, Urabrusk's Anointer, and Serum Snare. One thing you'll also notice is that a typical Magic draft pack has 3 uncommons, 1 rare slot, and I believe 10 commons, and a land slot in addition to the token, which our token here is a showcase token. Set boosters follow a different collation, and so those numbers and distributions vary. You can have more than 1 rare, more than 1 showcase card, and kind of a fluctuating number of uncommons and commons, in addition to being collated instead of in a draft collation, a set booster collation. So, very interesting. Set boosters are a lot of fun. There's a lot of randomness in them. There's our art card, another signed card. That's Kaya, Planeswalker card for the set, and Marta Nails. Beautiful signature there. Love that. Kaya, welcome. And another card from the list slot. This is from Double Masters, and it's Beacon of Unrest. For 2 black and 3, put target artifact or creature from your graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. And then you can shuffle Beacon of Unrest back into your owner's library. Very nice. Hazardous Blast is our foil. Beautiful pyrotechnic art, which really gets amplified with the foil. There, look at that. Really fun. Really fun. And our rare is the Filigree Silex. You know, Silexes have, oh, very nice, a second rare in this pack as well. Showcase art of the Blackcleave Cliffs, that other rare land we opened, but there it is in the full bordered art. Beautiful, vibrant, colorful. You know, the Silex, allegedly, the Argothian Silex is what Urza detonated long ago, fighting his brother Mishra. And the first few sets of Magic kind of took place in the wake of that giant explosion of that magical weapon of mass destruction. And there have been other Silexes printed in the current plot running through these sets, from Dominaria United through March of the Machine, coming out later this year. Part of the story is that the main characters are aware that Phyrexia is launching an assault after their sleeper agents engaged in an attack on Dominaria itself. And Karn, the golem Urza made, was preparing his own Silex to deal with it, and it didn't appear to be enough, and so in Brothers War, they actually used time travel to head back. And there's a foil showcase, Blightbelly Rat. And another rare Planeswalker, Kaido, Dancing Shadow. He's a Planeswalker from the current era of Kamigawa. And so our characters, Teferi, returned through time to retrieve some information on the Silex and give it to the amazing craftswoman, Saheeli Ray, who used her filigree artifice ability to craft that filigree Silex there as a weapon to attack and delay the multiplanar assault the Phyrexians were launching. So it's been very interesting to see the different Silexes evolve, and very referential card to some early Magic that is a plot beat in the current set, but also a big reward for old players to bring some of the original plot lines on Magic's 30th anniversary to the forefront. Beautiful poison counter. Looks just like they looked back in the Scars of Mirrodin block when poison originally returned. after many years away. Bone Picker Scourge there, very nice art. You can see that foil really draws out the texture on that bridge. Ovika, Enigma Goliath, very interesting rare. 7 mana for a 6/6 flying, most likely best suited for commander, but ward 3 and pay 3 life gives it some strong evasion from removal, and it has what we would call an Izzet Spellslinger ability where it cares about not playing creatures, and every time you do, you make some goblin tokens where X is the mana value of that spell and they gain haste. So lets you play a lot of non-creature spells and generate a lot of creatures and attack. Bone Picker Scourge there, who we just saw in foil. Mirror Convert, beautiful art on that Mirror Convert. I really, really like that. Some great details there. Beautiful sun behind it, this polychromatic treatment and the reflective metal against the dry landscape of Phyrexia. Very cool. Necrogen Rot Priest, Necrogen Communion. Charge of the Mites. They're charging, they're ready. And a beautiful Grimoire style island. I'm not sure what the technical showcase name for these are, but to me they look like a Phyrexian grimoire, you know, this ancient etching on scrolls. Very cool. I like to think this is sort of the cultural art style of the Phyrexians. Showcase art card there, I believe, for our good friend Thrun, who's a troll who has been around on Mirrodin since the very beginning. In Magic lore, another poison counter. The trolls are very long-lived, and Thrun is typically the apex of that concept. Oh, and speaking of mites, there's Skrelv's Hive, a nice white variant of Bitter Blossom, if you're familiar with that card. Some have referred to the mites themselves as Skitter Blossom, which is very cool. Great card. Love having those. There's Kinkerbloom again. Ravenous Necrotitan. Wild art. He is quite ravenous. Frightening. You know, that's one thing I love about Phyrexia is that it's a really well-developed original part of the Magic IP. And while it borrows from some cool, almost H.R. Geiger-esque art and other things, they've really developed it into its own identity and an ability to encompass all the colors of Magic and transcend sort of just machine body horror to be something so much more. And kind of alongside the Eldrazi is a real exciting an antagonist to the Magic narrative, but also something deeper, which is really cool. Zenith Chronicler, very interesting card, beautiful art. I think you could have even seen something cool like that all the way back to Urza's Saga. And one of these old school perplexing 2 colorless for 3/1. Whenever a player casts their first multicolored spell, each other player draws a card. Very interesting little creature. Necrogen Rot Priest again, and a Furnace Punisher. And I'll just say thank you for enjoying this with me. It's going to turn out to be a rather long video, but I hope you enjoy the relaxing sounds and just appreciating some Magic with me on a afternoon as the sun goes down here. Nothing like opening some booster packs to relax. Here is the showcase art and the Phyrexianized version of Kaido, who we just looked at recently. Really cool manga-esque showcase there. I really enjoy this art with the sort of like ninja star blades flying into the foreground. And we've actually seen this one before too. Rhea Ivor in her showcase foil. So quite a few showcase foil rares. None of the truly big bombs and value cards, but again, really beautiful. And she's a really cool card, a Phyrexian Knight. She has Battle Cry, and she can deny damage to make a bunch of knights. It will be cool if she becomes something. Ooh, and here's a nice card here. This is our good friend Jace, the Perfected Mind, this beautiful Tendrils of Tekthawal, and there he is completed. And this art is also a reference to arguably his most famous card, Jace the Mind Sculptor. And he's doing that same pose. So he is a mythic planeswalker. He is completed, meaning he's been Phyrexianized, something the Phyrexians have wanted to do for a long time is planeswalk. And after learning more about planeswalkers and finally abducting Tamio on the plane of Kamigawa, they were successful in completing a planeswalker, and that's been a big component of the current plot in the story, where they've been able to stage a multiplanar invasion and with their final coup de grace, create their almost evil version of a Phyrexian Gatewatch of planeswalkers ready to do battle with the planeswalkers that would defend planes. Here you can pay 2 mana or 2 life in colored, and if you do, he'll come in lower. Now, this Jace card was thought to be not very powerful when first revealed, but as play has shown, because he can come down at 3, deny a creature's ability to do damage with the -3 ability on his +1, and his ability to generate card draw, he just becomes a solid distraction for the opponent and something that can't be left unchecked because he generates a solid amount of regular advantage, but also throwing many attacks into him buys the player playing him time to ramp into their larger, more powerful spells. So in that way, he's a very economical mid-range card for blue. And he's seen quite a bit of appreciation post-launch when I think initially he was looked at as a very weak planeswalker. And that's kind of nice to know because in many ways, for us longer players, you know, Jace has almost lost a little bit of his spice because he's just been the poster boy for the game for so long. Another beautiful art card there. A Rebel token. Beautiful foil Prophetic Prism. Very nice. White shows up so well in foils. It really gets that, look at that beautiful reflection of light there. Really cool. And an Evolved Spinoderm, a rift on a very classic beloved green creature with the same stats, Blastoderm, who also had a version of Hexproof, and this ability where he fades away, a very cool homage card. And as we've said before, it's not a box of Phyrexia if Bran, the Executioner Thane, doesn't show up. So there's our Showcase Bran card as well. Sinew Dancer, very cool. Blight Belly Rat. The Incubation Sac. The Rib Skiff. If you're an Elden Ring fan, this should probably evoke those really cool Necromancer type mini bosses you fight across the map. And a lovely full art mountain there, Urabrask's Domain forging the goblin monstrosities. Poor Urabrask, you know, all the Praetors have had their time to shine from, you know, the heavy hittingness of the original Jin-Gitaxias to, you know, the absolutely dominant power of both versions of Vorinclex, to the great value and utility of original Sheoldred and the most recent one, Sheoldred the Apocalypse, which is just continuing to be the definition of what the value at 4 mana is in Magic, and Elesh Norn, who has always been a performer, but poor little Urabrask, never quite the powerhouse of his Praetor kin. Tyvar Stand in foil. This uncommon is actually worth a fair bit just because the creature gains +X/+X and gains Hexproof and Indestructible until end of turn. So in decks that want to protect a main creature, this spell can simply be cast for green, give +0/+0, but make a creature untargetable, so in response to an effect targeting it, causing that spell to fizzle, and indestructible, running away from board sweeps, direct damage, and other effects. Very nice utility card there for green. And again, it can be cast for 1 mana at instant. Soulless Jailer, nice piece of graveyard hate. You know, I will say I love the elegance on this card's text. I always like a well-designed hate card, and this not just hates graveyards in the sense that it exiles them, but while it's on the battlefield, cards in graveyards can't enter the battlefield. That's quite an elegant way to lock the yard out. They can't be cast, they can't be returned. You know, this is actually quite an effective ability in the elegant, simple way it's worded. And players can't cast non-creature spells from graveyards or exile. A lot of the more recent years of Magic, especially for some colors like red, have allowed players to exile cards from the top of their deck or their opponent's deck and cast them. By having this not let players, it turns off things from, you know, so many sets. So for 2 mana, it's quite a strong sideboard candidate as a way to shut down many cards creating card value in the game currently. Cankerbloom, Voidwing Hybrid, another really strong 2 mana uncommon, flying, toxic 1, and when you proliferate, you can return it from your graveyard to your hand. Very nice. And Tainted Observer, another strong for 3, a 2/3 flying toxic 1. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you can pay 2 and proliferate. It gives you a really good idea of how strong the uncommons are in this set. Very cool. Very cool. This set will go down as quite a powerful one. There's the Swamp. And there's the full art of our Quicksilver Fisher, and interestingly enough, it looks like some of the blue ink on the normal card is actually removed on this art card version, so they must have done several treatments where they did that sort of ink on paper treatment, and then did a secondary chromatic version for the card. Oh, we have another card in the list slot, Thran Forge. This symbol means Weatherlight, so for many of you, this was 1997, so this card is quite old. For 3 colorless, it is an artifact, and for 2 colorless, until end of turn, you can pump a non-artifact creature and make it an artifact. Very niche corner case, but this is much more resembling what cards were like back in that era of Magic. What a throwback. I do have somewhere an original Weatherlight version of this card, so very cool to see it on the list. And Mark Poole is a classic Magic artist. This has that sort of great 80s fantasy novel cover style of fantasy art, and you can see through the development of intellectual property, fantasy art and illustration has come a long way, but Mark Poole's always been a classic. The complexity and line weight on that icon for a set, not something we'd see either. They like to do something with a little more dimensionality. Back in this era of Magic, cards didn't denote their rarity on the expansion symbol, nor on the card. It was strictly up to you as the player, or through something like a magazine or the very, very early internet, to know what rarity something was. Tamio's Logbook. This is part of the secret to the Phyrexians learning about other planes, the Eltrazis, planeswalkers. It's a very chilling sense that Tamio, this researcher across the plains, despite her best efforts, fell, and her secrets are now the currency of the Phyrexians. Malira, the Living Cure, a great anti-poison card, really solid creature, green and white for a 3/3 human scout. If you'd get 1 or more poison counters, you get 1, and you can't get additional counters this turn. And you may exile her to choose another target creature or artifact. When it's put in the graveyard, return it to the battlefield. That's a great destruction replacement effect because it will re-trigger an enter the battlefield effect. And there's our Quicksilver Fisher with blue. So as we can see, the art card treatment is actually converted to flat black and white. Very cool. Hope you enjoy those sounds of just sliding through fresh Magic cards. There's a forest. Token card and our art card there, quite spooky. Hunter's Maze, from the common cycle of lands in the set in foil. And Karumonix, the Rat King. He is a new Rat Lord. For 2 black and 1, he's a legendary Phyrexian rat. He has Toxic 1. Other rats you have Toxic, which means when players are dealt combat damage, they get a poison counter. And when he enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library, reveal any number of rats from among them, and put them in your hand. Cheap, effective, he builds his tribe and gives it a solid ability. This is kind of the rate at which tribal commanders are printed in the current era of Magic. Sinew Dancer. Necrosquito, love that name. Bladed Ambassador, love that name. Annex Sentry, great card. And a foil Plains. As the afternoon sun starts to set, we'll use that last little bit of light. This is my favorite foil full art land in this set. Again, that heavy use of white. Look at that as the light ruptures the clouds. There's all that subtle polychromatic from the rainbow foil finish. Beautiful. There's the new art for the new version of Atraxa, signed. Marta Nail, again, lovely. She did some great high-profile art in that set. Love it with these soft pinks and blues. You can get that sort of eerie feeling of adulation and celebration that she's sort of an angel to the Phyrexian cult. There's sort of positive feelings baked into the eerie surrealism of this card. Love that. Phyrexian Beast. Contagious Vorak, very nice use of the different Phyrexian suns there in the background, one setting, one fully risen, one merging out behind it. And there's White Sun's Twilight. Not a bad card at all. It's a life gain spell, it makes toxic creatures, and if X is 5 or more, it's also a board wipe, sometimes referred to as a Wrath effect. An homage to the original board wipe, Wrath of God, which is very appropriate because in many ways on New Phyrexia, Elesh Norn is the god figure, and she is white. So there's some very nice subtle nods to many different, sort of wells of acknowledgement baked into that card. Beautiful foil forest. We'll use the last little bit of our light there to catch that. Ooh, wow. So our next card, which is another hit from the list slot, is probably the most valuable card from Dungeons & Dragons, Adventures in the Forgotten Realm. Old Gnawbone for 2 green and 5. He's a 7/7 flying. And whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you make that many treasure tokens. An incredibly powerful effect. He is also a legend, well suited for commander, and a dragon. Fantastic card. That was a great, great card to pull there. Wow. Quite lucky. Incisor Glider. Ooh, some beautiful light reflection there as the sun starts to slip behind the horizon. Graz, the Unstoppable Juggernaut, an homage to the original 5/3 Juggernaut that had to attack every turn. And he turns all of your creatures into Juggernauts. He's a big, expensive, legendary Juggernaut. Beautiful art on that prosthetic injector. Reminds me a lot of some of the artifact art from the original Mirrodin block with this chromes and metals on the updated artifact frame. I really like, there's something really nostalgic about that composition I really enjoy. And beautiful swamp, grimoire style. And our art card is Glissa. Oh, it appears we have another list card, Toymaker. Great art from that old era of Magic, 1999. Mercadian Masks, uncommon. There's a list symbol, the old card frame. Very, very cool. 2 colorless, 1/1, and he is a spell shaper. There was a cycle of spell shapers in Mercadian Masks, and they all had a similar effect where you'd pay 1, tap them, and discard a card from your hand to repeat an effect. Target non-artifact creature becomes an artifact creature with power and toughness each equal to its mana cost. Not a bad little effect there. Very cool. Watchful Blister Zoa. Zoas are a creature type that appears all across the Magic multiverse, so it's always nice to see a Phyrexian one. Lets you know even though we're in the weirdness of Phyrexia, we're still playing Magic if there's a Zoa there. Azuri, Stalker of the Spheres. Once an elven rebel fighting back, he's now become this wild Phyrexian abomination. You know, I think there's going to be some fun things in here for him. When you proliferate, draw a card, and he enters the battlefield, you can pay 3, and if you do, you proliferate twice. I think he makes a superb addition to an Atraxa deck from the original Atraxa, or other types of proliferate decks that run Simic mana. Very cool. Atraxa Skaterfang, one of my personal favorite arts in this set. Just such a cool idea of those like chitinous teeth shapes with the fleshy centipede underneath. Awesome. That beautiful plains. And there's Rhea Ivor's normal art. Very cool. I love the way she's sort of fused. And so she is a Phyrexian knight, but you can see what a twisted version of that concept she is. Some of the Mirrodin metal they used to fight fused onto her mount, but you know, she perhaps once proudly stood as part of the resistance and now is the crashing forefront of Elesh Norn's assault against the last few rebels on New Phyrexia as their hope dwindles. Another Mirrodin rebel fighting strong there. And that art card, very cool. Proud, strident, fighting against adversity. Another token card, the Hollow Sentinel. He's a token legendary artifact creature, Phyrexian Golem, and he looks a lot like Karn. Very cool. I'm not sure what card creates that. Mirror Convert and foil there. And the Eternal Wanderer, one of our heroic rare planeswalkers not completed and showing up to fight the good fight against the Phyrexians. Very, very cool card. She's a duelist, so no more than one creature can attack her each combat. For +1, she can exile 1 target artifact or creature and return it to the battlefield, otherwise known as a blink effect. For 0, she can call a loyal 2/2 white samurai with double strike to her side. And for -4, each player choose a creature that player controls and then sacrifice all creatures not chosen that way. Very cool economical white planeswalker. Good old Blightbelly Rat. We have quite a few of those. Tamio is a mobilizer. It appears as though Tamio might be fully integrated into Tekthual's reach as the blue Dominus, the blue sort of godlike figure on New Phyrexia, which is very sad. I hope one day some of our heroes will be restored, or we may be at the fateful point in Magic's larger meta plot, but some of our beloved characters are dead and retired. It'll be very interesting to see after the Little Breather and Ixalan and Eldraine, sort of how our remaining antagonists and protagonists pick up the pieces. Because there's no way there's Melira's full art. Very cool. Just a strong, pure human fighting it out on Mirrodin. It'll be very cool to see where we go next. Aspirant's Ascent. Very beautiful foil. That nice monochromatic treatment with just a little bit of blue and black and white there. And the Mirren Safe House, where our heroes hide. Melira helped me design it. Those who are infected by the oil cannot cross the threshold. We should be safe inside. Koth. As long as it's on the battlefield, it has the activated ability of all land cards in all graveyards. Urabrask's Anointer again. Thrumming Bird, a great reprint with the Phyrexia nice Tamio there, sort of having her playful, evil little pet on her shoulder. Crawling Chorus, really cool, wild, twisted art for Elish Norn there, love that. And a foil island. There's the full art for Vraska. Very cool manga-esque art. Very like sadistic, Shale Druid-esque. Vraska fits so well as the black completed Planeswalker there. And especially because Liliana, you know, they would never complete Liliana. She's just too popular. We all like her so much. Duress, the classic new art there, foil. Oh, and a second Koth. There's Koth in his normal form, proudly standing ready to continue the fight against the Phyrexians and defend his home plane. Love that art on Veil of Assimilation. Just sort of that shadowy, sad figure stepping into the light. Now as we go into our last few packs, I just want to thank everyone for joining me. You know, this is a very long video, but hopefully it's a very relaxing video and you've gotten to enjoy this set in a different way than many box openings are done. Aisha, another secret layer drop. She's a Aisha of Sparks and Smoke. 2 red and 1 for a 4/2 legendary human warrior. She has prowess, so whenever you cast a non-creature spell, she gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And for a Boros mana, a red or a white, she gains first strike until end of turn. Whenever she deals combat damage, that's either to a creature, a player, or a planeswalker, you may cast a sorcery spell from your hand with mana value less than or equal to that damage without paying its mana cost. That's a fun little Boros Prowess commander or addition to a Jeskai commander deck. Vivisection Evangelist reminds me of the Tide Hollow Sculler from long ago in a Lara block. I've actually seen this put to some use in Esper Control recently, just because with the poison counters, having this enter the battlefield at 5 as a 4/4 vigilance and destroying a creature or a planeswalker is a great momentum swing to sort of turn the tide in the later turn of the game. And Tech Thwal, we've mentioned his name several times this afternoon, but he's the mythic Dominus in blue. For 2 blue and 2, it's a 3/5 flying. If you would proliferate, you proliferate twice instead. And for 1 colorless and 2 blue Phyrexian mana, you remove 3 counters from among other artifacts, creatures, or planeswalkers you control and put an indestructible counter on him. He's also got a very interesting art, these eyes and tentacles and each branch of him splintering down, sort of a cyclopean elephant type creature. Very interesting card. And a second rare in this pack, This symbol indicates that this is exclusively from the commander cards from All Will Be One. Monumental Corruption, 2 black and 3. Target player draws X cards and loses X life, where X is the number of artifacts you control. Thrumming Bird. Beautiful art on that unnatural restoration. I really like the complexity and simplicity of lines contrasting there. Very cool. Mere Custodian. Beautiful art on that. Look at the depth and articulation and the textures and the subtle reflections on the flat metal there. Amazing art on that card. Beautiful art card as well. There's our token. Be the best player in the room. When it's just you on Arena, not hard to do. There's our foil. Gulping Scrap Trap. Great alliteration. Ooh, and another mythic there. Atraxa, the Grand Unifier. 3 colorless, a green, a white, a blue, and a black. For this legendary Phyrexian angel. She is an angel. She has flying, which means she can only be blocked by creatures with flying. Vigilance, which means she does not tap when attacking. Death Touch, which means if she deals any combat damage or damage to a creature, it will be destroyed at the end of combat. And Lifelink, for each point of damage she deals, her controller gains life. In addition to the lovely suite of 4 abilities, when Atraxa Grand Unifier enters the battlefield, you can reveal the top 10 cards of your library. For Commander, that's about 10% of your deck, closer to about 11 when you consider the first opening hand draw, and even more if you consider playing her after something turn like 6. In constructed formats, after your first draw, that's closer to something like 15 or 16% of your deck. For each card type, you may put a card of that type from among the revealed cards into your hand and put the rest on the bottom of your library in any random order. The card types are Artifact, Battle, Creature, Enchantment, Instant, Land, Planeswalker, and Sorcery. What's very interesting is she alludes to Battle here. Battle cards have not yet been published, and so she's teasing a new card type, which is actually an homage to Tarmogoyf, a card first printed, I believe, in Time Spiral, and Tarmogoyf referred to the card Planeswalker, which also had not been printed yet. So a very fun little wink at Magic Past there. There's our Mirren Skyhunter Strike Force for white and 2. It's flying, it has melee, so when it attacks, it gets +1/+1 for each opponent you attacked, and it's a lieutenant, so as long as you controlled your commander, other creatures also have this melee ability. Sinew Dancer, beautiful Mirror Convert again, Necrogen, Rot Priest, and Communion again. So as you'll see too, sometimes when we go through these set boosters, those little uncommon and common coalitions actually start to echo themselves. White Sun Zenith art card, very cool. Beautiful, beautiful Razor Verge Thicket. Is that what that is? No, the Hunter's Maze. Very cool. And an uncommon there, or the token is the Poison counter. Prologue to Phyrexia. Each opponent gets a poison counter and draw a card. Great little utility card for decks looking for Corrupted. Ooh, and we're on a little streak here. Another mythic, Sulfim, the Mayhem Dominus. He's the red Phyrexian godlike figure. For 2 red and 2, he's a 5/4. And if a source you control would deal non-combat damage to an opponent, or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals double that damage instead. And much like his kin in his cycle, for 1 colorless and 2 red Phyrexian mana, you can discard 2 cards and put an indestructible counter on him. Furnace Punisher, very cool. Plated Onslaught, wild, yucky, scary little card with that might coming over the ridge there. Beautiful Grimoire Island. And if you hear that little sound when I pick up the booster pack, what I'm actually doing is letting all the cards fall flat so that they can just all be even when we remove them from the pack. And that's the art for Phyrexian Vindicator there. Very nice. You can tell I've opened a few boxes when I can name most of the art cards. Not all, but most. Phyrexian Might, Foil Quicksilver Fisher, Tyvar, the Jubilant Brawler. For green, black, and 1, he's a legendary Planeswalker Tyvar. You may activate abilities of creatures you control as though they had haste, meaning as immediately when they enter the battlefield. +1, untap up to 1 target creature, and for -2, mill 3 cards, return a creature card with mana value 2 or less, from your graveyard to the battlefield. Sorry about that yawn. This has been a very relaxing box opening, and as we enter over an hour, I just want to say thank you again for joining me. I hope this was relaxing. Phyrexian Atlas there. Beautiful. The multicolored spheres, kind of like ancient and Renaissance era depictions of hell, Dante's Inferno, but Phyrexia is treated like sort of the magical equivalent to hell or an evil underworld. Beautiful Vanish into Eternity. I love that card too. That looks like Elspeth activating the filigree Silex, doing her best to stop the inevitable assault on the entire multiverse. Elspeth, along with Liliana, happens to be one of my very favorite Planeswalkers. So she was in the undead in Theros for very long, so I hope she doesn't leave this time, but nothing will fit her better than giving her life to save those of the multiverse. Mondrax art card there. Very highly sought after card. He's the white Dominus. Another Rebel token. Furnace Skull Bomb. Beautiful art on these Skull Bombs. The Skull Bombs were originally, or Spell Bombs were originally printed in Mirrodin, so it's very cool to have these Skull Bombs, each depicting the skull of the Praetor of that color, colorless artifacts with color-based abilities. The Mycosynth Garden. It's an interesting card. Some people have talked about this final ability becoming a copy. It's also a filter land. Mirror Convert. That nice same suite. We've seen these before. Those 3 powerful uncommons together, and Apostle of Invasion. They're joined by a friend there. And a Plains. Here we are, our final 3 packs. An art card there. I'm not sure what card that is for. Another token. Armored Scrap Gorger, these great wooded textures of Phyrexian Beast. The Monumental Facade, giant depiction of Elesh Norn's face, interacts highly with oil counters and is also a sphere, which has some synergies in this set. Sheoldred's Edict, a superb card. Congratulations, I am entertained. I believe that's Vron she's standing over, but edicts have always been very strong. Opponents sacrificing things, stuff that gets around of removal, toughnesses, indestructibility, hexproof. And this one is incredibly flexible with 3 modes. It's a modular. Minor Misstep, a reference to Mental Misstep, another great homage and powerful uncommon in this set. And a foil mountain there. Looks like we will get our last few moments of sunlight with our last 2 packs. So again, thank you for joining me for this longer video, but this sunset set booster ASMR opening. Here we are in Urza's Saga with Endoskeleton from the list as well. And that's 1998 with the gears. 2 colorless artifact. You may choose not to untap it during your untap phase, and for 2 colorless, target creature gets +3/+3 as long as Endoskeleton remains tapped. Mark Teeden art of this era. This is very evocative. These sort of like highly textured pieces of artifice boiling over with color. That's a very key style marker. Mark Teeden, who I believe has art all the way back to Alpha. Very cool. Very cool. Stinging Hive Master. What a beautiful foil. Look at the way that red Phyrexian language emanates from that black obelisk there. What a great foil. Look at that. Just brings that card to life. And our rare in this pack is Encroaching Mycosynth. A very interesting card because it non-land permanents you control are artifacts. The same is true for permanent spells you control and non-land permanents that aren't on the battlefield. So turning cards on the stack and in other zones as well as the battlefield into artifacts. Very powerful, fun card. I'm sure some people come up with some really fun things to do with Encroaching Mycosynth. Chitterling Skitterling, great alliteration in the name. Slaughter Singer, I also love this card. Green and white for a 2/2 with Toxic 2. And whenever another creature you control with Toxic attacks, it gets +1/+1. Does just a little bit of everything that would normally be done in those Selesnya colors on rate. Fantastic little bear creature there. Ooh, and this is a foil Grimoire Plains. You can see that just little extra richness in the details there. Very cool. Almost kind of looks like a very old cheese. Another great art card in the set. And our last pack for the day. Our final art card, we actually opened him earlier. That's our big red dragon we got earlier. And our token card. So another Phyrexian Might. Foil Trawler Drake. Urabrask's Forge, producing tokens on each cup. Keep to attack your opponent. Great little tempo pressure card. And 2 rares in this pack. Another alternate art Kaido with that great manga art. We opened this art card earlier. He's like a ninjutsu style planeswalker from Kamigawa. This cool sort of arachnid style composition, saw blades. Very cool. So with that, folks, thank you so much for joining me and having a nice, relaxing evening, afternoon, morning, whatever it is, wherever you are, sorting some magic cards. I hope you enjoyed the sights and sounds. And until my next video, be good, relax, peace.